Ready?
We're recording. Whew. I think we did this. All right. So it says recording. I think we're recording, right? Please tell me we're recording.
It says recording.
It says recording.
Can you hear the air conditioner?
No, can't hear the air conditioner. All right. Yay. Okay. Y'all, took a long time to get here, but we're here. I have amazing people that are filled with patience, y'all. You have no idea. I have the amazing Briana Browne. Woo woo. Amazing girl, mental health advocate, Nashvilleian, now in the ATL. We have Kristin, Leigh, an acclaimed author, inspirational speaker, recovery coach, and the creator of the Change Your Story Workshop, a groundbreaking and effective approach to overcoming addiction and discovering the masterpiece that lives inside of you. Awesome. And I have both of those books that you see behind her. I actually have both of those books right there, Believe and Change Your Story. And then we have our professional, because this is Ask the Professional, and Victoria is the professional. Victoria Valdez, a wife and mother of two. She is a master's of marriage and family therapy counselor in her private practice in Brentwood, with over 12 years experience helping children, teens, and families. Thank you guys for being on here. It took a lot to get here. It took a lot to get here, but I want to jump in because I know we don't have a lot of time, but I wrote down some of these quotes and I want to, I guess, talk to you guys about them. What do you guys think about them, especially in the age that we're in now with a lot of young people that are struggling with mental illness? So the first one is Robert Frost. He said, "The best way out is always through." I love that. And Jimmy Dean said, "I can't change the direction of the wind, but I can adjust my sails to always reach my destination." Kristin, how do you tie both of those quotes in with young teen girls, especially because that's my passion, that's your passion?
Yes.
How do you tie both of those quotes in?
Well, I always, it's hard when you're young because you just hear statistics and you don't realize that every decision you make is setting the stage for your future. So I always share with them how, habits can become addictions, which is what happened in my case. You don't ever know, but every decision you make is setting that stage, and that we have to move forward despite what's in our way, because it's rare that we have perfect circumstances. But we also have to deal to heal, because if not, what happens is what we have in us, we take with us. And so the Robert Frost quote, it says, the best way is through it. That means we can't jump over it. Changing our story means we have to make changes. It doesn't just happen. So we have to, when there is a problem, we really have to work through it to be able to not keep going back to it. If not, we just sidestep it and we keep having the same problems and going the same cycles. And that's what we want to get out of the habit of doing.
Yeah, I agree with that. Victoria, what do you think?
Yeah, I really like that quote. It made me think of, and gosh, it slipped my name, the author, but he's kind of like a grief guru. He talks about you have to, when you're grieving, you have to go through it.
Yes.
Not around it. And something working with teens, and families, I feel like there's like a sense of, not with every culture and when I mean culture, I mean also like the family unit, right? And not with every ethnicity group, but there's a lot of where we don't talk about our feelings, right? Or this attitude of let's, strap up, what do they call it? Strap up your bootstraps, or suck it up, and, but really just being able to talk through these things and go through it and not avoid the pain, it's so easy. I know I can relate to that. If anyone likes Enneagram, I heard Briana earlier when we were side talking, but I'm a 7, and a 7 typically doesn't want to feel pain. So having
anyone wants to feel pain.
Yeah, like, you do everything to avoid it, and you use humor and I'm okay, and a really great book that I recommend for everyone to read is The Body Keeps the Score. And the more that we hold on to
a good book.
I love that book. It's a great book. I mean, your body truly does hold your emotions. Think about when you're dealing with anxiety. I always ask people, where are you feeling it? Oh,
Yeah.
my stomach, you know? So you
Yes.
really are feeling it. And to be able to heal and to be able to move through things and to get over them, right, is to feel and to
Yeah.
talk and talk about those things and not be afraid. Let's not
Yeah.
shove those emotions.
And I think our society teaches you to do the opposite. Stay busy as long as you're doing something else you don't have to think. That
Mhm.
busyness is like addiction all dressed up. It's, you know, with teens, it's social media, it's TV, it's whatever they can do to suppress those feelings. And then it can also become promiscuous behavior. It can become into addictions. And we have to learn to really not keep smiling and pretending everything is fine and saying, okay, but really ask ourselves, you know, where are these thoughts coming from? Because what happens is we start, instead of being aware of what we're thinking, we're aware of how we feel. And then we're 10 steps behind because those feelings
Mhm.
came from a thought.
Yeah. Brianna, you were saying that you know about the book. Tell us, what do you think? Like, tell us about the book, because I don't know anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
So the book was recommended to me by my old therapist when I lived in Nashville, and she's the best. And she practiced CBT, which was awesome. I know we kind of said that we were going to talk about that,
We are.
and it was really good because you talked about, you know, we have these traumas that happen, but like our body remembers them, and so in my case, my suicide attempts, which I don't remember. And I have about a 2-week period of not remembering. And in a way, that's helped me to recover so quickly and to be at the place that I'm at now. But my body remembers. And like sometimes I get these reminders because like sometimes some days my back really hurts, or you know, I had a TBI, I had a traumatic brain injury. So I, you know, have memory slips, or like I will sometimes forget someone's name, or I don't remember like the word for doorstop. So I get these little
Wow.
reminders, even though I don't remember, you know, my family and friends remember, but my body remembers. And
Mm-hmm. That makes
it's
sense.
a really good
Absolutely.
book.
Wow.
So, and I really like both those quotes. I think
Yeah.
that, you know, when everything first happened, people say, oh, you know, what happened? Are you okay? And I'd say, oh yeah, I'm like a real life Humpty Dumpty. And I didn't want to say, hey, I jumped off the Natchez Trace Bridge and I tried to take my life.
Right.
Because that's like
I'm
really
so glad it didn't work. I'm so glad it didn't work. Look at you.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Thank you. But it took me a while, and like, I mean, we talked about Enneagrams. I'm a 2. I'm a helper, and I also like to deflect when things are hard and I don't want to talk about them. I'll deflect and I'll like be funny, or I'll like just change the subject. We're working on it. It's getting better.
Yeah. Wait, so
But
Victoria, talk about CBT. What exactly is CBT?
Sure, it's cognitive behavioral therapy, and just a layman's terms, or I guess a really small or short, fast version is that it's the idea of so you have a situation happen, and then you have a feeling and a thought, right? Which then becomes, or I'm sorry, a thought and then a feeling and then a behavior. So
Uh-huh.
I mean, yeah, I mean and so the idea in therapy when people use CBT, I do use CBT, is to help your brain retrain itself to when a situation happens that you're stopping and you're recognizing what it is that you're having, either a helpful thought or an unhelpful thought, and then what your feelings are. And so you want to, you know, an example is like, you know, you have a negative thought about something, you know, and I like to use teens, right? You know, so your friend didn't say hello to you at school, and now you think, oh my gosh, they hate me, I'm a loser. So now I feel really vulnerable and angry, and now I do X, Y, and Z. So then what you do is you kind of plug in the whole idea. Okay, let's stop. Was that a helpful thought or a negative thought? Let's plug in, how could we reframe that? That, oh, well, maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe they didn't notice me. Now, how do you feel? I feel calm and regular. Now, what's your behavior? Okay, well, now I feel like I can just keep walking or go to my next class. So it's that whole reframe and building. But it takes, Briana, you could probably attest to this, or any of us really, it doesn't happen overnight. You know,
change does not happen overnight.
Yeah,
It is a process.
it doesn't happen overnight. But the
One
more
of
you practice, you make those new connections, you know?
Yeah.
One of the first books I got was a CBT on depression and anxiety mixed together. And it was extremely helpful, so helpful. And, you know, I share with, you know, every thought leads us somewhere. It either, because it always leads to an action. It either propels us toward our objective and our goals and the good things, or it sends us on detours.
Yeah.
But until we're aware of them and really realizing, like you said, ask yourself the questions, why? Why am I thinking this? Why does it affect me this way? What am I associating with it? You keep tracing it back. I feel like if you ask why enough times, you eventually get to the root of your issues.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get to the root of them, you can change that story that you told yourself or that you believed for your entire life. You know, I call it, some things are thought lies. We've believed them for so long that they've become our truth, even though they have nothing to do with the truth. They've become our reality.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Victoria, with everything that's going on right now, I mean, we have a lot of things going on in the last few days between, especially with us here that live in Tennessee. I mean, starting back in March, I mean, we had the tornadoes that happened, and then it was COVID, and then we were on lockdown for 7 weeks or however long it was, and now we're dealing with riots. So it seems like everything is happening all at once.
Yeah.
What on earth are you telling young people now? Like, how in the world are they able to process this? Because I know, and I was saying this before we were even hopping on the call, like, I feel like my anxiety and blood pressure is boiling over. I mean, it's enough. Like, I've like, it's here. Like, I'm even stuttering because I'm always tuning in. I mean, when we were watching COVID, I mean, I was over it. And now it's riots and protesting. I'm over it. What are you seeing with a lot of young people now? Are they recognizing this? Are they frustrated like we adults are?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So predominantly a lot of my teens in the last week, that is something that just organically has popped up for them. And, you know, I service teens of all different ethnicities, you know, some clients, African-American and some are not, or Latino or whatnot, have been bringing this in the forefront. The teens want their voices to be heard, which is so parallel to what is happening right now, is that voices want to be heard. You know, social justice wants to be heard, right? And so really letting any of you that have teens in your lives, whether it's a neighbor, nephew, grandchild, or your own child, whatever, right? I mean, just letting them, asking them questions, don't be afraid to ask them and let them speak, you know, even if it doesn't come out the way we want them to think, right? Just let them have their voice, because the number one, talking about what we've just been talking about, we hold things, society, at least in this country, and lots of ethnic groups, our families have taught us, you know, that, hey, it's not okay to talk about emotions. And no, that's wrong.
Yes.
I thought why.
Yeah.
Letting them talk and express themselves in whatever way they're going to express themselves, that shows them that you're aligning with them, that you care about what they have to say. I mean, just as simple as that is your ears, right?
Yeah. Briana, what do you think?
I think that, you know, it's a really hard time for everyone. And I kind of think of, we talked about like some metaphors earlier, like I think of like a jar and there's marbles in it, and there's so many marbles in the jar that like your brain can only handle so much. And I think it's so much pressure, and it's just, sorry, I've been having a really hard time with this as well. And, you know, it's the thing is, people want their voices to be heard right now, and they're just feeling like we have this opportunity, and it's being received in a lot of different ways, and just trying to do the best that they can right now with the situation that's being handed to them.
It's hard, Kristin. I don't know. Kristin is in California. Do you have any like interaction with a lot of young teens and young girls, and what are you telling them? What kind of advice are you giving them during this time?
Well, in California, we've had no interactions. I think I've seen one person since March 17th. We were still on lockdown when this happened. The stores just opened day before yesterday when all the riots started. So it's been really, really a a trying time. And I have talked to girls via Zoom, and I'm telling them, like, you know, like Victoria said, they need to express their feelings and not to hide that fear, but also regulate the intake. You know, we cannot be watching the news all. It's like you need to be aware of what's going on, and then you need to give it to God, and you need to pray about it and start counting your blessings. When you start counting the things you're grateful for, the things you've already gotten through before, it changes, it rewires your brain, and it literally, it just puts you on a different plane. So, you know, that's the advice I have, to yes, be aware, but it's kind of like the serenity prayer. What can you do about it? Right now, all we can do is, for the virus, take care of ourselves, you know, realize that we can't do the things we're used to doing, so what else can we do? You know, what I ask God for purpose. What can you do today to make a difference? What can you do today? You know, the world's not over. This is what I've been telling people. It's been feeling like a timeout, you know, like a timeout. But the truth is, life doesn't give us timeouts. Right. Every decision we make is going to either propel us toward our future or take us back. And, you know, when we get out of this, there are going to be setbacks that we can't control. Right. And there are things that are going to be different. But it's easy to use that as an excuse for letting yourself go. For, you know, whether it be eating the wrong foods, watching the wrong things, talking to people that you know aren't good for you. Whatever it's going to be, you're going to give yourself one more problem when this ends. So I try to just let them to use this time to work on things they haven't had time for, and to really use it as a productive time, and to just really watch how we talk about anyone when it comes to the riots and the protests, to really just speak love, because hate only breeds hate. And love is the only thing that will cure. So, and it's hard when you see things that you hate, and it is so hard, but really it not only is it the only thing that works, it also changes, it relieves that pressure, it relieves that, you know, it takes away some of that anxiety.
Yeah. So suicide calls have been up and increased over 1,000%. Victoria, talk to us about that. What in the world is going on?
Gosh, it's a lot. Well, I've seen an increase just with teens. I mean, specifically, just with everything that's going on, you know, social world, right? That social contact that they were having before has been cut off. And even though we kind of look at teens as like, oh, and young people, you know, millennials, or I can't say it right, but
you got it.
The Gen
like,
Zs,
oh,
the Gen Zs, that's what they're called.
Yeah, there we go. The Gen Z, you know, like, we tend to just say, oh, well, they're just so tech savvy, you know, they know all the social media and they shouldn't be feeling this way. But really, like, that total contact cut off, I mean, they're really feeling it. They really, a lot of them, I mean, just, which is increasing their anxiety. If they already have anxiety, it's totally spiking it up. If they already have depression, it's spiking up. And so, yeah, there's been a lot, I mean, attempts that I am aware of, you know, that, you know, and it's so one of those things, and you're processing with them, and you're supporting the parents, you know, on how to, so there's a lot of that going on, and just trying to, you know, help them, something Kristin said, you know, help them focus on gratitude, you know, help them focus on other things, right? But also too, there's a sense of, you know, during these times where they're cut off socially, and then they're seeing these social injustices that are happening, and you have these kids that, you know, may be, you know, African American themselves, or, you know, a part of the minority groups that are getting these oppressions, and they don't know what to do with themselves, and maybe parents aren't allowing them to demonstrate, and helping them find ways to where they can relieve that feeling, you know, that helplessness. There is this feeling absolutely helpless right now with COVID, with this injustice, with the lockdowns, and it's out of their circle of control, right? And like you said, Kristin, what can they control right now? Helping them see what they can control, and what positive things can they do. Maybe they can't go out there and, you know, make masks and go give them out to everyone, or they can't go and be at the protest, but they can maybe write cards, or they can donate money, or do a social, you know, to make them feel like a part of it. And
that's a way to be heard.
Yeah,
absolutely. Is there, Briana, is there a difference between a 12 to 14-year-old mind and a 15 to 18-year-old mind when it comes under the umbrella of mental illness? And what is that? What does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think your mentality from 12 to 14 versus 15 to 18 is so different. So 12 to 14, you're really, you're discovering yourself. You're having all these changes happening in like your body and your brain. So I think side note, I just got your email an hour later. Sorry.
Social media, I'm telling you, the internet.
Thanks, technology. But I think, when you're 12 to 14, you're really finding yourself, and, you're starting to have all these changes in your body, and you're feeling all these feelings, and you're like, I don't know what's happening. And so you kind of have to approach it more gently and explain, like, okay, it's okay that you're feeling all these things, and like, this is totally normal. And because you're kind of like evolving into this new person. It's kind of like you're on like, there's like little like levels. So you kind of upgraded to this new level, and you're like, okay, welcome to this new level. Here's how things are. Sometimes you're going to feel this way, and that's okay. And then so 15 to 18 is then the next level of, hey, you're having more changes in your body, and hey, you're almost an adult now, and here's how things are going to be. And you're still treated like a child because you're under 18, and so you still have that, but also you're almost an adult and you're expected to act a certain way. So that kind of the two coming in
cognitive dissonance at the best.
The what?
Cognitive dissonance at the best. Like one part of your brain saying one thing, the other part is saying the other thing. You actually have adults telling you this. And one way you're the child, and the other way you're supposed to be the adult. And so you have all these contradicting things in your head, which makes it even more confusing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And the thing is, guess what? It goes your whole life.
Yeah.
There's always these contradicting things. And so I think also still, they're older, they're going to have access to more things. They have easier access to alcohol, easier access to weapons, to drugs, whether like medical, like pharmaceutical drugs, or like recreational drugs. And so, I don't know.
I hear
That's
that.
one thing. Like,
I'm sure could speak much better about this.
No, you're doing great. I wanted to just really something really quickly. I'm sorry, Samantha. When you asked that question, something just stumbled to my mind. Was that going back to the way that the suicides and things like that? Was that so if you think of the teenage brain, you guys probably may know this already, but your brain the prefrontal cortex doesn't develop till like 25, 26. I feel like they keep changing it. So I say between 24 and 28.
They do keep changing it.
But my point is during that like 22 and under, I tell parents this all the time with their teens. They're like, I'm tired of them saying, why did they do? I ask them, why did you do that? And what did the teens say?
I don't know.
And I say to mom and dad, I say, I'm not trying to take their side, but there's science to show that they really don't, because
they really don't know.
Right. And tying into suicidality is that teenagers are extremely impulsive because their brain isn't fully developed. Yes. So something I wanted to tie that in. That's a really important thing, that as their ability to control their impulses gets better, it doesn't get much better until like 25. And so that's why you're on a whim, right?
having vision, because it's like short term, what I want right now. I want this right now, and this is going to get my problems right now without long term vision.
Right now is where their brain is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm 25, and so I've also got a TBI to my frontal lobe. Yeah. So
that's one thing I consistently ask myself when I'm making decisions. Okay, is this going to be temporary satisfaction or long-term fulfillment? And just really learning not to act on emotions. I think that's one of the biggest things that I had a problem as really my whole life, because if you don't get over it, you don't get over it. I mean, most adults have that. And just realizing that we have to understand our feelings. We can't suffocate them. We have to understand them. But we also have to be able to tell them to shut up sometimes. They can't be the boss of our life. We have to learn to make decisions on our objectives and our goals. And that was something I was never told as a child. I learned that the hard way. But I mean, it's something I use. I mean, I broke free from a decade of addiction. I almost died 3 times of alcohol poisoning. So, and just everything I use to break free from that are the same things I use every day to keep pursuing purpose. You get up, you do your work. It doesn't matter how you feel. You acknowledge it. You do what you need to do, but you still do the right things. And you always think, how's this going to affect me long term? And we can get teens to start thinking like that. I think that really takes off half of the pressure that, you're feeling. They're there for you to understand, and they'll guide you, but they're not the boss.
Right. So Victoria,
they act like they're the boss. They want to be the boss.
Like that's true. So Briana and I have actually had this conversation before, that there are so many more celebrities now that are really being a lot more vocal with their mental health struggles. So Victoria, do you find that there's a lot of teens that are comparing themselves to Kanye West and Demi Lovato and Selena Gomez and Pete Davidson? Like, these celebrities now seem like they're a lot more open to their mental illness. Do you find that any teens are actually like comparing themselves to them?
Like comparing as far as like, I can relate to that because I'm bipolar with or I can relate to that because I have depression, with whatever celebrity is coming out saying that they deal with that. Is that what you mean?
Or sometimes what happens is that we love, like my son loves Pete Davidson. I don't know why, but loves Pete Davidson. And then all of a sudden it's like, I don't want my son to emulate his characteristics and behavior. So you have to be careful about mimicking that, because it's like, wait a minute, you were fine before you liked him, and now all of a sudden you're changing. Like, are you finding that maybe somehow people idolize a certain celebrity and building themselves to be something like that they're not? I'm really curious about that.
I mean, yeah, I think whether a teen, if I got understood your question right, I think that teenagers, whether they are dealing with a mental health issue or not, I remember when I was a teen, the people that I idolized, I wanted to be like them, and as you get older, you have a sense of your own identity that, hey, I don't have to be like you, So, I mean, I definitely think that, but I would say on a positive note, and we've talked about this personally, Samantha, about how taboo it is to talk about mental health. So it is nice to see public figures, like I tell my clients all the time, I'll be the first one to say I have ADHD, and it is extremely discriminating, I guess, in a way, because I'm forgetful because of my ADHD. I'm impulsive because of my ADHD, and people don't understand that. And there's a stigma around that. And so, I'm the first one to tell, people, or, to kind of help bridge that. It's not taboo. Like, let's talk about it. Like, real people who have successful jobs have mental health issues, and you can still be successful, even in a struggle, and I think it's really humbling. So it's nice to see that. But on the flip side, like you said, you have these celebrities that don't make good choices, and then they're still, teens are idolizing them, and wanting to be like them in a harmful way, right?
I
Yes.
think it's both. Kind of what you were saying, this, Samantha, is like, in one sense it's great because when other people open up, especially people you admire, you feel like you can. But on the flip side, you want to be like them, and it's almost like it's in style to have it. And I think we're way too quick, doctors included, to label children or even adults as, oh, you have this, oh, you have that. Maybe their brain's at a different level. Maybe they're just processing. Maybe they've been through some bad experiences. I think that we really need to go through all of the reasons they could be feeling and thinking and acting this way before we slap that label on. And when it comes to the celebrities, just to be aware that both of those are happening.
Yeah. So we have about 4 minutes. So I want you guys to each take 1 minute just to, if you're speaking, if there's a young person right now that's watching, there's a mom out there that's watching, Briana, what do you say to them?
I would say for a parent, just to be supportive and to be a shoulder for their child to cry on, or an ear to listen, and just to be okay just to listen. You don't have to solve the problems. as I think, I mean, I'm not a parent, but you want to help, you want to make things better. You don't want to see their child struggle. So just, knowing that you can't solve all the problems, but being there to listen and try to offer any help that you can is really good.
That's so good.
Kristin, what do you say?
I say that to know that your life is really a masterpiece waiting to be discovered. But the thing is, a lot of times, especially in my case, that masterpiece was buried underneath a bunch of mess. And so just because things don't look good right now and because you have qualities you don't like, underneath them, if you work through them, that's where you'll find that purpose, that the reason that you're here. And purpose is always bigger than us. And when we find that, that purpose is stronger than everything that will try to attach itself to you in a wrong way.
I like that. Victoria, what do you say?
Yeah, just to parents and teens, I mean, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid. If you don't know where to go, find someone, get on the internet, there are services out there. I know mental health care can be expensive, but there are services out there that will help you. Don't be afraid.
Victoria, I think I want you to send me some resources that you have. And Victoria and I are actually working on a really cool project, so I don't want to give too much away. But yeah, I mean, I would love to get some resources. That way I can put it at the end of this video.
Yes, I will do that.
For people. I think that's important. It's really, I mean, we're living in crazy times, y'all, and young people are just trying to find direction and trying to figure out what to do. And anxiety and depression and OCD and PTSD and bipolar and borderline personality, I mean, it's like a funnel, and nobody wants to be like that. Nobody enjoys that gunk and that feeling, but I think we can all agree, do not keep that in. You do not have to keep that in. I don't know who you're trying to pretend to be strong for, but you are strong and you need to feel empowered by asking for help.
Yes.
So I just want to leave that out there. I want to try to save this video. So y'all, I need help. I want to save this video. How do you help me save this video?
Well, go down and push stop recording. And I want to.
We're just going to leave. Now we just want to say thank you, Victoria. Thank you so much for coming on as the professional. I appreciate all of your help, and we'll make sure that we get your information and your resources so that way we can put it out there.
Yes.
Take care, guys.